Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brady Mick. I'm an architect and workplace strategist here at BHDP, and we're really thrilled to have you all here today. There's one thing that we've learned over the last number of years, 10, 15 years in this practice, is that the world of work is changing, and that change continues to accelerate. So just for a minute with me, imagine the world of work is changing, and that change continues to accelerate. So just for a minute with me, imagine explaining to a 10-year-old what work was like when your grandparents were working. What words might you use to describe their work lives? Might have been something like predictable, lifelong. You might have thrown in there the idea of a pension. They dedicated themselves to a company and the company dedicated back to them. So now let's transfer that to maybe your parents and what you would explain to a 10-year-old about your parents' work experience. And the words probably change. They're probably more along the lines of they may have moved jobs a few times, a little less predictable, a little less dedication between the two, tense at times possibly. I personally am old enough to remember the 70s and early 80s and what it was like for my parents working at that time. Okay, now let's bring it forward just a little bit more and maybe come closer to, say, 2006. If you were to do an internet search in 2006, you might have found things concerning the future of work that talked about attraction and retention, the war between the generations, the expectations that generations had with each other, and how we're going to create a future where people wanted to work. Now quickly go to, say, 2010. Dramatic changes in what we were talking about. Survival, differentiation, complexity. And finally, with me for just a minute, imagine what that 10-year-old's career is going to be like. And that's why we're here. BHDP and UC have teamed together in Work 2020 to discover some of the drivers and influences that are going to affect the 10-year-olds as well as all of us as we move into the future of work. We picked 2020 as a target, but it's just really to represent the future, because the dynamicness of work is going to be incredibly impactful. Now, one thing I want you to realize is that we have purposefully not focused on workplace. What we believe as a group of people in research is that we must concentrate on work first. We must understand the drivers between behavior and social dynamics and expectations in order for us to even begin to predict what workplace will look like. So at this point, I want to introduce you to our 12 researchers who are here today to talk to you about what they've researched in this last semester. They're intelligent, they're curious, they're insightful, and as well we have a couple of guests here that were experts in the room with us that provided fodder for these folks to test their ideas and to hear stories, not only about today, but what our peers and our future work is going to entail for folks out in the industry. So, what we're going to do is we've challenged these 12 with a presentation style called a pachakacha, not necessarily a Pikachu, but a pachakacha. And the reason for this is an intensive, straightforward, get-to-the-point presentation style. They will each have 21 slides, timed, and a 7-minute set. And they're going to slam to you what they believe they've learned in their research about behaviors and influencers and patterns of work in the future. So with that, we were going to have you sit back and just absorb what they have to say, engage in a discussion with us. I think our challenge to everybody in the room, particularly ourselves who've been through this process in the last semester, is open up your minds, become curious, because predicting the future is precarious at best. It's also very exciting to do, but it's precarious. It's complicated. We cannot even imagine some of the drivers that are going to hit us in the next 10 years. Again, the difference between 2006 and 2010 was profound, 4-year span. But I think if we understand the influences on people and the key words that these folks have been grappling with over the last semester, it gives us tremendous insight into what we can expect in work and eventually in workplace, which is going to be diverse and complex as well.